Welcome, 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 welcome to this. Welcome to this special Geopolitiks with yours truly, Dragan Rainbow Dragon, and gonna go say begin, start, and commence with "Go Canada, Go Canada!" What a great performance from the women's sports team, soccer team who beat France. Wow. That was a great game. I saw it was the overtime. Of course, it went a little bit overtime after 90 minutes. And what a great game. What an intense game. Very well performance. And go Team Canada, go 24/7, rock and roll on those Olympics. I want to commence with my gratitude as we go on this special Monday. Geopolitiks is my kingdom, my domain, my area. My obsessive interest is an Asperger's. It's geopolitics 24/7, the study, the analysis of geopolitical events, comparing with past geopolitical events, and perhaps and doing analysis, prognostication, speculation based on intellect, wisdom, and understanding of the geopolitical arena, which is, of course, worldwide and global and international, because geopolitics is international relations, is politics, is diplomacy, is wars, is conflicts, is economic trade agreements, and everything under the sun. Freedom is new, Solomon. Let's get it. We begin with gratitude. And I do that rock and roll because that's one of my obsessive interests, as well as I am an artist, athlete, philosopher, geopolitical analyst, and theorist. Yours truly, independent, androgynous. Yours truly, Rainbow Dragon. Encouraging all to work out, train, and exercise. Working out, training, exercising has been, is, and shall continue to be my medicine and therapy of choice. And we're going to switch to that French because we in that La Belle Province. Just before I go to the mountain, my second home today, geopolitics, we're going to try to rock and roll. So, as an Aspie, Asperger's is again not a mental illness. It is a neurological, neurodevelopmental, psychic mental condition which makes me predisposed to repetitions, to echolalia. Echolalia basically is a symptom of Asperger's, which sometimes I might say out loud what the other person say, a phrase, a word. So I might repeat the same things. It's not to be disrespectful. It's echolalia. It's a Asperger's symptom. So maybe that's why I lost a lot of friends that I made in the past 7 years. Friends with benefits only from now on. Friends with benefits only from now on. Friends with benefits only from now on. Pledge your allegiance, legions to our family. Saluting those who are gonna pick up the garbage just out of big trucks with the garbage. Thank you. Those are athletes as well. We must not forgive. That civilization is a privilege as the people's artist. Thank you. Salute those who pick up the garbage, the compost, the recycling. Got three services. Those firefighters. LOV to the firefighters. LOV to the butchers. LOV to the bakers. Gotta send them some good love, and the sun's gonna shine, blow up those clouds, and go Jasper, go. Let's reconstruct, build. I do meditations, of course, as I would be on the ground, giving some of that vigor. And yes, I wish I could afford. I am just financially stressed at the moment. I'm just financially stressed at the moment. But my rent's paid for the month of July. July is ending. The month of Leo. Special geopolitical analysis. So I'm gonna have to pay my rent again in August. But I got food, I got coffee, my rent space, so I can work because I work independent. I'm open for business 24/7 and financially stressed but grateful, thankful. My rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee. And it's not all about the money. Wall Street, it's not all about fighting. It's also about that LOVE. It's also about that LOVE. So what gives me hope is when I go to Mountain March and see people holding hands of all ages, and somebody's gonna make that good loving, maybe 16-year-olds for the first time, 17-year-olds, and they're gonna have that summer love, and new love, and old love, and new love, and rainbow love, and black and white love, and all the types of LOVE. And I do all what I love and what I'm obsessed about, because Asperger's, Aspie is again not a mental illness. It is a neurological, mental, developmental condition which makes me predisposed to perhaps using more verbose, intellectual, sophisticated, cosmopolitan verbiage and linguistics and language, which is not, of course, always necessary, but that's an Aspie symptom. So I'm working on my symptoms constantly for many years now. During COVID, I did accept that I have Asperger's, so I have that neurological, mental, divergent condition. I am neurodivergent, and I am weird. But of course, have my strengths, and geopolitics is my kingdom, my realm, my domain, to the fact And I got proof that back in 2019 in October, I predicted, not in a detailed overall manner with every little detail, but of course in a general manner, I predicted the international conflagration, the current world events. In other words, I predicted a World War III back in 2019. And one of my parallel obsession, the parallel obsessive interest with geopolitics 24/7, is also fitness and sports. And I gotta say, I'm gonna mark August 6th is gonna be the day, 2017 August 6th, when I departed from Western Canada for the first time in 2017 in August and September. I crossed Canada's coast to coast, and that event 7 years ago is going to be August and September. August 6th, I left with an anonymous friend who deserves to be a billionaire 7 times richer than Oprah. I left cross coast to coast, and that got me out of being depressed and suicidal. And so I started working out, training, exercising, and working out, training, exercising since then. And I'm always on a fitness journey. I encourage all to work out, train, exercise. It's good for mental health. And after this, of course, work, geopolitical analysis and study and meditative interpretations. I'm going to go to the mountain, of course. So geopolitics is my topic of interest, is my realm, my field, my domain. So in geopolitics, it's of course the study of international relations, of politics, of alliances, of military alliances, past and present. And of course, I mostly can specialize in the 20th century, and of course the Cold War, which lasted, of course, with proxy wars for more than 40, almost 45 years, almost 45 years, almost 45 years. The precise date is 44 years and 9 months, 44 years and 9 months, 44 years and 9 months. So here's to this Aspie who survived COVID 2020. I had COVID, it was like death, pestilence, and disease, like death, pestilence, and disease. 2020, February, March, I was very sick, ill, and I always say nothing that I want to go back. I'm rebirthing Adrian, Hannah, Dragan, although I do not have the funds, money, because, with Asperger's, I struggle with keeping employment because people don't know what it is. And of course, there's a little bit of confusion about what Asperger's is, a lot. Still, it's being demystified more and more. Of course, Asperger's, the condition of Asperger's, but of course, in recent years, of course, we've been, of course, more knowledgeable and more understanding about this neurological, developmental, psychic, mental condition, which is not a mental illness. It is a neurodivergent mental psychic condition, and that's how I can category, which makes us predisposed with obsessive interest, and we are obsessed about certain interests and topics, and those interests and topics, of course, for myself, are geopolitics. Somebody else might be computers, science, and fitness, and mine is sports and fitness parallel to geopolitics. But of course, it's not a mental illness again, because there's no medication for Asperger's. You just gotta live with the symptoms and deal with the symptoms, and that's what it is, the Asperger's condition. So my obsessive interest is geopolitics. So for years and years and years, and set a routine. I wake up, I do my sun salutations, I do my working out, and in the morning I study and I analyze, and of course the geopolitical arena and the geopolitical events, and then I make prognostication. And I gotta say that again, reiterate and repeat that back in 2019 I predicted an international conflagration. Back in October 2019 I predicted an international conflagration, and of course had created and designed a workout training program system to go hand in hand with a World War III scenario. I got proof of work. So based on an analysis, not necessarily as a more mystic endeavor, or as a basically as a prophecy, but as somebody who is obsessed about geopolitics due to Asperger's. That's my obsessive interest, geopolitics 24/7, the analysis thereof. Just to give you an example, just this morning I listened since like 8 o'clock. I listened to some news, I listened to the new events, and of course one of the main events for us North Americans, Central Americans in the world is the re-election for the third time of Nicolas Maduro, part of the Socialist Party. So I analyzed a little bit of the party and where it is, and keep in mind that I'm a pro-labor and love universal revolutionary centrist, and as I am a North American, I am a North American Canadian Quebecer North American Canadian, and I do believe in world peace, and I can be universal, but fundamentally my call to all for the public-private partnership, manifesting as the dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom, which is fundamentally my dream for a public-private partnership across what I call the collective North American civilizational complex, or the complex of North American civilization. So I gotta salute the firefighters. Go Jasper, go firefighters. Gotta sense. Before I do proceed, I want to sing some rock and roll to the firefighters on fighting the wildfire, sending some Dragon Rainbow rock and roll. Get back home safe and make that good loving get back home safe and make that good loving, get back home safe and make that good love. So to the firefighters fighting those wildfires, gotta give him some of that good rock and roll. Let's go with the water, gush it up, it takes that fire, quench it with the water. Save it for the left and to the right, and let's go, firefighters of North America. With that red truck, my favorite color. I gotta see them. Somebody give them a massage therapy because they deserve it. Farmers, firefighters, nurses, they deserve a massage therapy and they earn more than yours too. So back to geopolitics. I want to say again my gratitude, grateful, thankful that my rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee, and I find that gratitude is great for my mental health and parallel with regular fitness. Regular fitness, that is another of my obsessive interest, of course. Physical fitness, and working out, training, and exercising. As a matter of fact, after this geopolitical analysis and event of today's events and events of the past, I will of course go to the mountain, my second home, the mountain, and sometimes I go around about the mountain and work out, train, and exercise. So I encourage you all to do the same. I have been and will continue to call for the mass financing via PPP, a public-private partnership initiative, to mass finance citizens to work out, train, exercise. And since in August and September is going to mark 7 years since I crossed Canada coast to coast, and that event got me out of depression and being suicidal, and I have written right after I came back. I've written because I write, as a philosopher, I write initiatives and philosophies, practical and a little bit of practical, and that have to do with geopolitics, and mainly and foremost for the defense, the security, and the rebirth, and the joy, security, defense, and the rebirth of the what I call and the defense of the North American collective civilizational complex. Because we North Americans, I always say I'm a North American, Canadian, Quebecer, Mexico included. It's part of North America, and I always say Quebecer, Canadian, North American, just like Europeans or whatever have you. I do believe that we constitute an emergent collective civilizational complex. That is one of my philosophies and my theories, which I believe to be true, and I've discussed in the past. As I also discussed online, based on my writings, of course, my thesis as the People's Doctor, which I presented, called The Privilege of Civilization, the Privilege of Civilization. And just the other day, I was meditating on the mountain. How much work it took in the 20th century just to have a top of the mountain of the Belvedere, the chalet, my favorite place there, where I like to work out, train, exercise, and rock and roll for the butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, electricians, carpenters, NATO troops, NORAD troops, and firefighters, and those daycares, and the daycares changing some of those diapers and what have you, and the butchers and the bakers and those truckers on the road, and the warehouse conductors, and all those delivering the food, and those picking up the garbage every week, every service, the public service. It takes the public and the private. So anyways, I was doing a deep meditation, how much labor it took for all the pipes to be laid underneath to go atop the mountain, for me, for you, for us to have clean, potable water, drinkable water atop the mountain in the 20th century, and even predating that before, underneath the mountain, connected all the lines underneath the earth, and part of the public works, the public roads, the public works, for us to have potable water to drink, things that we take for granted as part of civilization being a privilege. Sometimes we meditate, and I'm doing that little meditation now, and of course it's something which I meditate since I died of COVID 2020, and I presented my thesis, The Privilege of Civilization, calling Wall Street to give some charity, business, to give some charity. It's not all about Wall Street. It's not all about money. It's not all about fighting. You gotta get some loving, and we cannot base our civilization, North American civilizational complex, and which we are part of Western civilization, but we're not totally divorced. We're not totally divorced, but we're not divorced but distinct. So we are not divorced but distinct. Not divorced but distinct. That is something which, of course, you gotta keep in mind. That part of my thesis and philosophy is that we we constitute a civilizational complex. We're not divorced, but we are distinct. So we're not divorced, but we have distinctions. Part of the civilization, Western civilization complex, we constitute, us North Americans, an emergent civilizational complex. So what I'm saying this is because, of course, part of my initiatives and my protocols and my call to all for the public-private partnership initiatives under the umbrella known as the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom, of which yours truly lays the finance and the founding thereof, with 718 trillions of kisses, 718 trillions of kisses. That's a lot of kisses. 718 trillions of kisses. So kisses I got with some rock and roll, and we're gonna play that defense, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Part of the public-private partnership Dragon Army initiative. We gotta play defense, just like the hardball ball. That's why we gotta focus on defense, and gotta extend it NORAD NATO to NORAD NATO. Anyways, geopolitics. The geopolitical arena now is very tense towards the international conflagration. And of course, again, I reiterate and I repeat that I've predicted, again, in a general manner, not in an overall detailed in a detailed manner, but in a general manner, I predicted what's happening now. Of course, I predicted it back in 2019, and I've been working on some solutions. Just like, of course, before I forget, because I digressed a little bit, when I got out of my depression 7 years ago, 2017, when I crossed Canada, when I reached Banff, I remember like I was wow. When I crossed the prairies, I said, such a big country. We fight those 40 plus million Canadians. It's so many things to see, to do across Canada, across North America, in North America, just in Canada, just in Quebec, just in Montreal, to see the mountain. I've been exploring it for years, for years, and there's something new, of course, on the mountain. Which, of course, when we go in the nature, in the flora and the fauna, we can always detect and see new things which we're not aware of. Sometimes we just got to look to the sky and appreciate the beauty of nature, which has to be complementary and in a covenant, in a harmonious way with civilization. It's always a balance and a harmony. And yes, 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 I still get moody. I still get moody. I still get moody. I discuss about my some medical conditions, some scars and scratching because of whatever. I still have to. I'm waiting for a response to get a dermatology to see if I can use. But I've been utilizing an alternative cream, So I see maybe some results will come out of that in terms of my own conditions with Asperger's and scars and whatever have you on my body. But I'm healthy. I'm well. Wellness is important. And one of the papers I've written, because I've written tens of thousands of papers on initiatives and philosophies which mainly are about public-private partnership, and I have been and will advocate for the mass financing of citizens. My essay has a long title. It's my essay is sometime I gotta find it on USB keys or written by hand somewhere. It's called Mass Financing Tourism, Public-Private Partnership Tourist, Citizen Integrated Tourist, North American Tourist Initiative for the Wellness, for Citizen Wellness, North American Citizen Integrated Public-Private Partnership Tourist Initiative for Citizen Wellness, something like that. North American Citizen Integrated Public-Private Partnership for North American Wellness. So basically, to mass finance citizens to travel across North America, Canada, US, Mexico, across a public-private partnership, or at least Canada, because I'm Canadian, Quebecer Canadian, and North American. But also, of course, I gotta say that being a mystic, I do believe in past lives and reincarnations. As a matter of fact, I was born 3 times in the USA post 1776, and I served twice. Sometimes once I was born as a woman, because sometimes I was born as a woman. You get that 50-50 now. Once I was born as a woman, twice as a man, and served in the United States Army. Served twice in the United States Army. So we gotta get that NORAD NATO, and it's not all about fighting. Somebody gonna make that good loving regardless of our more stress, my financial stress, and my craving for a massage therapy, and my but I'm always joyous when I see people holding hands and hugging. And I know somebody's gonna do that today somewhere, maybe in the sun, or in the shade, or somewhere across Canada, Quebec. It's gonna make that good loving amour, like Celine Dion sang. Gotta salute Celine Dion for the return, of course, in the Olympics. And I've been cheering for Canada as I go on the mountain. I've been doing my long vlogs, work with a laptop, and long vlogs, 3 hour vlogs there. You got to work with what you have. And if you make on this video, I want to give a call that I just give me the tools, the permission, and bring me the paint and the paint and the brush. And I got like more than 44 benches there on the mountain. I would love to paint them some blue, some white, or some rainbow, whatever color, red, because they've been like that for years and years and years. And I would love to put some color on the benches, because it's not just my second home, it's public. So that's public space, and I would love to embellish it. And I would love to do that volunteering, just to paint the benches there in the public space on the Mount Royal, because we got a lot of public works to do. I believe my DRT theory, blah blah blah, my DRT theory to be implemented for the creation of the U is the solution, and it's this with solutions we gotta find ourselves with. And I gotta say that I'm grateful, thankful that I'm here, in this underground room of some temple and Dragon's Lair here. And when I step outside, I got added responsibilities, duties, and obligations, which under the normal circumstances of life I would not have, because I remember just moving, and I got retrograde amnesia. And I remember moving from a moldy place, and moving here. I came here really with nothing. I gotta give a shout out to my anonymous friend who gifted me this shirt, which I wore for more than 7 years. I'm gonna auction this shirt for 7 million to give half, 3.5 million, 50 to my anonymous friend who wasn't my friend because of the money. Who wasn't my friend because of the money? I'm gonna give half, 50 regardless. If I make a million, a billion, a trillion, I'm gonna give half regardless, because I move here with nothing really, with nothing really. Just like a little bit of, sometimes it's best to leave some baggage out, especially when you enter the domain of geopolitics, which is my kingdom, my realm, my domain. And again, keep in mind that of course when I discuss this from a North American collective, from a North American perspective, and my initiatives and my protocols are for the defense, security, wellness of the collective North American civilizational complex of North America. Because as much as I've lived in past lives and incarnations across ages, from time being ancient Egypt, ancient Rome, from the Romans, sometimes a man, a woman, a priestess, you get that rainbow dragon, aka priestess of the goddess, H, Hana Hana Hana, on this Dancing Goddess and Dragon Kingdom initiative, which is fundamentally a call for a public-private partnership. So today, 29th of July, as much as I can say, I can analyze more from a neutral perspective. So that has to be understood, because it's not necessarily that I'm taking positions. My first and foremost position is for the defense, rebirth, security, joy of what I call the collective North American civilizational complex. And we can extend it to NORAD NATO, NORAD NATO, but fundamentally NORAD NATO, because I'm Quebecer Canadian, Montreal, the island. The island is just a country, like 2.5 million people live just on the island of Montreal. So that has to be also understood. As much as I can analyze, and by reading and writing tens of thousands of pages in more than 7 years, as much as I say that it's also a neutral perspective. Although, if I'm asked to do a certain requirement of how we move forward to have ceasefires and resolution, reconciliation, like I say to my black brothers and sisters, who are 13.4% of the North American population are blacks. My neighbors are black, my neighbor included are black, and I've been living here for like more than 7 years, from like maybe 8. When I moved, I gotta check. It's at least 7 years. At least 7 years. At least 7 years. I moved here with nothing. And in August, September, I'm gonna be marking when I cross Canada coast to coast. So if I can offer something, it's gonna be kisses, hugs, rock and roll, and some of that good hugging, and play some soccer together, play some football, do some business, and reconciliation here in North America. To with our brothers and sisters who are natives, and who are, okay, so gotta salute again those on the trucks. They passing there, salute. We LOV those. We love the public workers. We gotta love the garbage collectors. We LOV you. Big hugs, big rock and roll for those picking up the garbage, keeping the streets in the public sanitation. Gotta So we got to be mindful of the public-private partnership, because it's not all about private and it's not all about public. We got to have a harmony, a balance, and equilibrium. And my initiatives are PPP initiative based, public-private partnership initiatives based. And regardless if I make money, or be a billionaire, I'm always gonna salute the public workers who pick up the garbage, who pick up the compost, the garbage, the recycling, free services, who fix the aqueducts, the roads, so that I drink clean coffee. And I gotta give a shout out. To who? Hydro Quebec! I'm always excited to discuss about Hydro Quebec when tourists come here. That when you come here in Quebec, and I believe five or six, all the way to New York, like a third almost of electricity of Manhattan comes from Hydro Quebec. Might be 25%, might be even 44 now, but it changes, right? But nonetheless, you're utilizing in every activity that you do, utilizing electricity, clean, renewable, non-polluting energy here from the hydro dam. So myself having the light, having the laptop, having the little iPhone, my smartphone, doing this vlog and this geopolitical analysis with rock and roll and theorizing, and of course discussing and doing a little bit of art, a little bit of comedy maybe with it, and of course that it's clean zero pollution energy. So I gotta salute workers at the Hydro Quebec in the 20th century, because some dams are 70 years old. They still work 70 since the 1947, 1950s, 1960s. And as a matter of fact, I created a movie. I want to see a movie called La Belle Province, part of showing the Quebec history within North America, and part of how those dams were built. And gotta give a shout out to the workers of Hydro Quebec now changing. So whatever needs for us to have electricity, we gotta love and appreciate. We gotta encourage them. They're going up on the poles. They set up so many poles, metal poles. So all that gotta be also defended. That defending the infrastructure of the North American collective, defending the infrastructure of the North American collective, defending the infrastructure of the North American collective. Because my brothers and sisters from millionaires, billionaires, all the work in the 20th century enabled that money making, enabled the money making. So we gotta salute. Food security starts with the farmers. Construction starts with the construction workers. Got a LOV. The construction workers build, support Rainbow Dragons building 3. I want to build 3 buildings. The House of the Dragon, Forgotten Goddess, or the Goddess Temple, the GODDS Temple. As a mystic, I am a universal spiritual teaching student, non-sectarian Telemite, want to be Telemite. I don't know it all. I don't have all the answers. My Pope is the sun, my Pope is the sun, my Pope is the sun, and I'm pretty rock and roll in my spirituality. I humor, comedy. I don't know so many things I don't know. I have my philosophies, which sometimes are simple: consent and hygiene, consent and hygiene, consent and hygiene. Rock and roll, black and white and rainbow. Rock and roll, black and white and rainbow. Ask, just ask, just ask. That's my policy, you know. I mean, you can ask anything. I might not know, you know, so many things I don't know. I do know more the past 7+ years in my life. I do know more, like 7+ years in my life, 7+ years in my life that I can say, you know, I can discuss geopolitics. I can discuss dancing is my favorite sport, dancing and geopolitics. And now we're gonna get to the geopolitics once again. Grateful, thankful that rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee. So the main event, Maduro's re-election, and I gotta say that something interesting about Maduro that he's part of a special socialism in Latin America called Bolivianismo, and of course Chavismo, as known as Chavismo. So it's a more leftist, a more socialist approach. Me, I'm a universal revolutionary centrist. My universal revolutionary centrism is tied in hand with my philosophies and initiatives, which are public-private partnership based. So I'm a universal revolutionary centrist. But my universal revolutionary centrism is also tied in hand with the collective North American civilizational complex, North America, with North America as being a whole civilization, an emergent civilizational complex of North America, where are we have made what I call the Great Linguistic Compromise. The great linguistic compromise of the French language. I make an effort. As Spanish, I've been speaking for more than 7 years in my home here. In Spanish, I've been speaking more than 7 years, and I had Mexican neighbors, still have. And been speaking, you know, Spanish, and I love Spanish. So it's can gotta practice, but nonetheless, anyways, regardless, geopolitics. The geopolitics of today, Maduro's re-election is very close. So supposedly it was more than just 51%. So there's some trouble and there's some discontents, and there might be some unrest or some big protests that might possibly turn into riots. As today the day unfolds, tomorrow and the coming today and the coming days, we'll see if those protests and that discontent turns into actual riots. Now, if there's riots, the riots can also degenerate into more conflict, right? Riots can degenerate into more conflict. So, but what's interesting about the philosophies of the party for socialism in Venezuela, of which Maduro, their new re-elected president for the third so 6 years, 6 years now. It's another term of 6 years because they can be re-elected. So another term, he's ruled for 12 years. So it's another 6 years. So what's interesting is that there's a branch of socialism which is called socialism in the 21st century, which is of course tied in hand with which is tied hand in hand with a German philosopher called Heinz Dietrich Stefan, a German sociologist and political analyst who lives in Mexico. So it's an interesting philosophy if you're gonna study, if you know geopolitics, because it's important in this geopolitical context to understand, just like to understand my universal revolutionary centrism. You gotta know a little bit about my trinity of theories, which I'm calling the implementation, and fundamentally it's a public-private partnership for the collective North American civilizational complex for the defense, security, and service, for security, defense, service, and some and rebirth with it, and rebuilding the infrastructure. And my trinity of theories are, of course, the DRT, the death refusion theory, the CIT, citizen integration theory, and the democratic fusion theory. So that trinity of theories to be implemented via the fourth dimension, LOVE, because my brothers and sisters, we cannot base everything on strength and force and fitness. There has to be love, there has to be understanding, there has to be other complementary, balanced, and more harmonious parts of our civilization. We cannot just base everything on brute force. Like I always say to my brothers and sisters, salutations in the Canadian Armed Forces, U.S. Armed Forces, NORAD, NATO, firefighters, and security forces, to carry a weapon. What's worth defending sometimes is just seeing the youth dancing and loving and dancing in the streets and holding hands, and of all ages, and those going to the restaurants, and for the truckers, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the grocery store clerks, and those construction workers building more skyscrapers who build more dams, and those doing physical activity on the mountain or what have you, and those doing some good love, and even doing a little bit of that twerk, and dancing in the streets, a little bit of that, a little bit of LOVE in black, white, and rainbow. That's worth putting down, carrying a weapon for, and patrolling North America, and carry a weapon, a weapon for, being armed, basically. To That's worth, that's also worth it when I see, when I go on my marches to the mountains. Sometimes, I imagine, of course, because I've been imagining for years in practice and in theory and in philosophies, and of course in terms of my initiatives, which date back, of course, to 2019, when I predicted an international conflagration. And since then I've been kind of in a World War III scenario, and I've have hundreds of workout videos because I created a workout training program system. And of course I imagine myself, of course, fellow citizens, what's worth to defend coast to coast. It's from the daycares, from the daycares, the children, and all the way to the CHSLSD, the senior citizens. So that would be a lot of that. I gotta read some children's books, and I say a new protocol to my brother with LOV, Bill Blair, Minister of National Defense. I said, before you put on a uniform and be part of a Canadian Armed Forces to defend, you gotta go somewhere coast to coast and change some diapers, or read the children's books before you put on a uniform, because who are you fighting to defend for? It's first and foremost the 40 million coast to coast. So part of my philosophies, new initiatives, protocols, we gotta be mindful and meditate about that. And the farms, and from the farming, the butchers, all farms, and cheese farms, and potato farms, and all the goods we have here, from the wine, and from the wine, for everything that we have and everything that we do, of course, and everything that we'll continue to do. Hopefully somebody making that good LOV. So the Maduro's re-election is a big geopolitical event in the terms of, if even worldwide, because whatever is re-election and a new president comes into power, policies might change, foreign policies might change, trade agreements might change. So geopolitics is always like a constant raging sea. Geopolitics is always like a constant raging sea. So geopolitics is also always like a constant raging sea, right? It's always, there's a fluctuation like a raging sea, if I will make that analysis, that parallel in terms of a raging sea or the river, right? Because Montreal, Hawk Island, HAWK, Hawk Island is surrounded by a big river. Here in Montreal, my home in this life and another life, we're surrounded by a big river, by a big river, by a big river. So that big river is, of course, the River St. Lawrence. St. Lawrence is a huge river, so maybe like the river, the geopolitics. Today there's the re-election, so will it change? Not if it's a re-election. Probably there's going to be more constancy to what was, if there's a re-election. If somebody else is re-elected from a more center or right, because it could be left, center, right. It could be more far left and far right. Right, we got far left, far right, right, left, and center. So we kind of got five, which could be more split. More split. My centrism is unique because my centrism is a 21st century centrism based on my trinity of theories. Again, the DRT, the Detroit Fusion Theory, the DFT, Democratic Fusion Theory, and the CIT, Citizen Integration Theory. And it has to be understood that my initiatives are based on the geopolitical realities of today, which myself have predicted back more than like 2019 in October. 2019 in October. So more than almost 5 years ago, almost 5 years ago. I predicted the current situation, an escalation, of tensions, and an international conflagration. I predicted it in a general manner based on my obsessive interest, which is geopolitics. So Maduro's re-election, that is kind of going to be more of how I said, it's going to be what we're already been used to, right? Because he's been re-elected, so he's been re-elected, so that means that there's more constancy, more uniform, more of the same old, as we say. But we have to understand a little bit that the base of the party is also something called socialism of the 21st century. Socialism of the 21st century. Socialism of the 21st century, which is based on the interpretation of socialist principles that have been first advocated by German sociologist and political analyst Heinz Dietrich. So Heinz Dietrich be a sociologist and political analyst, Heinz Dietrich. So myself being a geopolitical analyst and theorist, I'm going to have to know a little bit about socialism of the 21st century. So I know a little bit about it. I'm not an expert on, I guess the expertise belongs to Heinz Dietrich. But nonetheless, I could say that in Venezuela, of course, we're going to see if the implementation of the same policies. And of course I'm going to discuss now, of course, the new development, the escalation in the Middle East. Of course, the escalation in the Middle East is very worrisome in terms that it can actually lead to a World War III, as it could be, of course, a devastating effect for the escalation to continue and the Israel to go to war with Lebanon, Israel to go to war with Lebanon, Lebanon with actually the Hezbollah and what have you. That's a group of a grouping within Lebanon, which is not necessarily a unified state in terms of their unification. And again, correct me if I'm wrong. From what I know, of course, there's still unresolved sectarianism, which myself I'm very I apply the principle of non-sectarianism. But again, from what I read, from what I know, it's also to keep in mind that fundamentally I'm a North American Canadian Quebecer, and here we made what I call the great linguistic compromise of the French language to continue to have peace and with the culture, which as Quebecers we're pretty much a lot of comedians. We're pretty much we're oh, so yeah, we like comedy, we like humor and joie de vivre, and I always encourage citizens to make an effort to be bilingual, where you're North American, and listen to some Celine Dion, French and English, like my Prime Minister, and just sometimes making an effort, and sometimes it's not that easy. Sometimes we got more tensions and what have you, but nonetheless, of course, myself, I love the French language, and I write on the daily. I create rock and roll French songs and Quebec songs and comedy and humor. And we need to build more dams in Hydro Quebec. We got a lot here in Quebec which could develop, and Quebec contributes greatly to North America, not just in the Hydro Quebec, but that's a major part which can actually be enhanced in the 21st century. And I will WILL to build more dams, seven more in the coming septennium, 7 years. And we got to encourage, and that's something which we have culture, we have a lot of land, and of course my protocols, I got to reiterate, because I discussed it last week, is part of NATO. We're part of NATO, and of course the NATO being a military alliance, which NORAD is a Canadian US military alliance. Of course, who's going to be that 33rd is the question. I'm advocating for Mexico to be 33rd. I'm advocating for Mexico now to be the 33rd. Mexico now to be the 33rd. And of course, we got to get that interpretations, and we got to get, of course, NATO. I'm for the expansion of NATO to, in the coming 7 years, to 44, maybe 45, 44, maybe 45, 40. In the coming 7 years, September to 44, maybe 45, especially throughout Central and Latin America, because we got to find some resolutions, my brothers and sisters. And I don't do drugs. I don't do drugs. But nonetheless, you could say that drug trade is part of the cartels. Is the drug trade, of course, is could be geopolitically interpreted, and there's fundamental effect on geopolitics, with the security and what have you. So there is that. But my brothers and sisters, anyways, I don't do drugs, but here we got legalized cannabis. I have cannabis. I haven't smoked in a long time, and I don't smoke it. I still have a few, but it's legal here, cannabis, and I'm for the legalization of cannabis, and not the dangerous ones, not the dangerous drugs. That's not good for the body, but for recreational. I am for the legalization of cocaine. I'm for the legalization of cocaine, but standardization and legalization of cocaine. Yes, of cocaine. I am for legalizing cocaine. If you want to know, I think in the 21st century it's time to bring it into a resolution of sanitation, hygiene. I don't do myself cocaine or stuff like that. I have my obsessive interest, but I do like sweets, and I drink a little wine, and sometimes on a rare occasion I might smoke 3 puffs of that legal legal cannabis. But I'm for the legalization of cocaine. I'm for that, and to bring some resolution. But anyways, I'm not going to discuss that. I have to dedicate a whole hour and more than that on my theories about legalizing drugs that are safe, sanitary, not the dangerous ones there that make people sick, but of certain types of drugs, such as cocaine. I am for legalizing cocaine, for example, but not the other ones. Fentanyl. That poison. I rather work out and consent and hygiene, and get a good massage, and get that good workout training and exercising, and some good cheeseburgers, some good bacon. Some good meals, some good chocolate. I like cakes, stuff like that. So I like rock and roll, and I'm an Aspie with obsessive interest, and geopolitics is my arena domain. And now I'm going to analyze, I'm going to finish with the Maduro. So basically, what I could say about the Maduro, since it's a re election, to summarize in a very concise manner, since it's a re election, we're probably going to be used to the same old, right? But now there is a new event which is worrisome, because my initiatives and protocols are for NATO. The NATO NATO has a member, Turkey. Turkey is a member of NATO. Turkey, state of Turkey now, which Erdogan is the president, is a member of NATO. And I have to reiterate and re-listen to some news. But this morning around 9 o'clock, I do what I do on the daily because I have a routine. Asperger's have routines, and my routines is waking up and analyzing geopolitical events and doing my sun salutation, stretching and meditation, spiritual meditation and analysis and rock and roll and art. I'm an artist, so I create movie ideas, dialogues, and some comedy, and I write and I create with my voice and orally songs. I sing some of that good rock and roll, some rap, R.A.P. rap with it. Always rap for the farmers, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks. Somebody gotta rap for those truckers on the road, for the firefighters. Here we go. Some gonna say that LOV, it ain't all about the money. Some gonna say that LOV, it ain't all about the money. Somebody gotta say that LOV. It ain't all about the money. I'm for my friend. And what my friend because of the money because I never had any. Well, my friend because of the money because I never had any. What my friend because of the money because I never had any. But I'm financially struggling, but I'm rich. I'm in geopolitics on any topic I can discourse, and I can discourse and converse and analyze current events, past events, but especially 20th century. But the 20th century overlaps now. Because, for example, if we take an overlap of the 20th century, I'm going to go now into a 20th century overlap to the 21st century. We got unresolved issues. Myself, I pretty much, the only issue now I have to resolve is financial. I got my first donation, I gotta say, from a fellow Aspie. Asperger's, thank you. I got $25 and 44 cents, $25.44, $25.44. So I used it for food, I used it for food and just to pay my phone and whatever have you, to pay my phone and stuff like that. So that was the use for that. But of course, there are other things I'm not, I'm not. I get moody sometimes. I get moody, but I conquered being depressed and suicidal. I conquered being depressed and suicidal. I conquered being depressed and suicidal. So I'm willing to get in a boxing match with Donald Trump. Donald Trump, it ain't all about fighting. Sometimes you gotta get that loving. I'm from this Quebecer Canadian who was born 3 times in the USA, twice as a man, once as a woman, served twice in 2 different wars of the United States, served twice in 2 different wars of the United States. I served in the U.S. Army twice in past lives. So we got to get that North America, time to unite and create a common currency, the UE, based on my DRT theory and the public-private partnership Dragan Army initiative for the defense collective. Somebody making love now in the Quebec, Canada, USA. Somebody making love. My children somewhere in the United States running in the field or in the big urban civilizations, hugging on a bench and tickling and whatever, having a good time regardless of our more grown-up affairs. And my financial stress, my rent's paid 29th of July. Geopolitics, let's go back to geopolitics. But I'm willing to get in the rink. I got gifted these a few years ago, these red gloves. And I also love fitness sports, is one of my obsessive interests, and it's geopolitics, 24/7 sports and dancing, DANCING. Dancing is my favorite sport. Dancing is my favorite sport. Dancing is my favorite sport. And of course, I love to dance, love to work out, train, exercise, and encourage all to do so. And doing this vlog now, doing this coffee with yours truly, Rainbow Dragon, gonna discuss the overlap in the 20th century of several geopolitical points of contention. So one of the main points of contention, of course, and is the continuing Israel-Palestine situation. Israel-Palestine, my brothers, there has to be some resolution. There has to be some resolution. We have to get to the table, inviting all here on the mountain, leaders of the free world, leaders, chiefs, presidents of all the world, inviting them for a great September 11, working on the Dragon September 11 for a great worldwide ceasefire, worldwide reconciliation. We gotta reconcile combatants. We gotta reconcile combatants, and we gotta work in the 21st century. I know it's not always easy, but we gotta somehow do it. We gotta somehow do it. And defense for North America, calling for the World Peace Summit, Montreal World Peace Summit. I could do some dancing, some geopolitics, and present some of my ideas, and just like we made here. Myself as a Quebecer, my Quebec family here, cousins, my on the mountain and family, and All those willingly loving are my family. All those willingly loving are my family. Pledge your allegiance, legions. All those willingly loving are my family. All those willingly loving are my family. It ain't all about the muscle. Sometimes it's that good loving and that hugging. Sharing with some caring. Oh, in the center, sometimes we gotta dance with a philosophy up in the land. So, for the great North American collective, here we made the great compromise, the French language, which we continue to do. Please try. Anyways, the back to geopolitics, unresolved conflicts, the Middle East conflicts, unresolved conflict. Of course, we can also say Russia and Ukraine, because that, to understand Russia and Ukraine, we have to understand that, of course, there was the USSR, which was conducting a Cold War with the United States, and there was kind of the East and the West division from March 1947, from March 1947 till about, of course, December 1991, December 1991, December 1991. So almost 45 years, 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 44, almost 45 years, 44 years and 10 months, 44 years and 44 years and 10 months. So being part of that spillover, if we will, that the paradox is that, of course, Ukraine was part of the USSR. Of course, again, regardless, my opinion, left, right, or center, or whatever I say, I am for the defense, security, service, and wellness of North American collective, the North American collective, the North American collective. I can extend it for world peace, blah blah blah, but I do not know really that much. Oh, what I read, what I learned the past years, and tens of thousands of books and reading geopolitics and international relations and history and events and reading and learning and with the struggles. But fundamentally, I'm a North American Canadian Quebecer. I was coast to coast, ocean to ocean, got out of depression 2017 in August, September when I crossed Canada coast to coast. Firstly and mostly, I'm for the defense, security, and service, or Quebec, Canada, and a philosopher, a Quebecer North American. Canadian Quebecer, Canadian North American philosopher, a North American geopolitical analyst and theorist, a North American artist and philosopher fundamentally. So they have an unresolved issues because Vladimir Putin, it's important to say that he was when the Soviet Union got dissolved, he was 39. He was 39. He was over 39, so he was almost 40 when the Soviet Union, so he lived most of his life. He was almost 40, almost 40. It was like 39 when the USSR ended. So we gotta keep in mind that he had grown up in the USSR, in the Socialist Soviet Republics, the United Socialist Soviet Republics, in the USSR, which is a great geopolitical entity, right? I can discuss and diverge and do an analysis and why is it, but very in depth. I'm not gonna do that because I gotta go work out in the mountain and I did my laundry, so have some more work of a more physical nature than a mental geopolitical nature after this. But anyways, back to what I was saying, that we have those unresolved conflicts, which is of course in Europe. In Europe, that's the war that's happening now, a war that has not been a European war since more than 70 years, such as we have now. So that's another unresolved conflict from the 20th century, which spilled over now in the 21st century, which spilled over now in the 21st century. Here in North America, we made, and we continue to make on a daily, myself included, to work on my own racism. Sometimes it's subconscious. I might say, oh, well, I don't have racist feelings, but there might be subconscious. It's not everything that's based on logic. Not everything is based on logic. Not everything is based on logic. I can only think me. Oh, I made a lot of friends. I lost like 99%, 99% in the past 7 years. But now in the past years, I have accepted I have Asperger's and I have 93% of the symptoms, 93% of 93% of the symptoms. So I know that I gotta work on it and I gotta let people know so that they understand, that it's not a mental illness, so that I'm, on drugs or anything like that. It's just my Asperger's. Sometimes I utilize very intellectual, verbose, and sophisticated language on things which are not really necessary, and some people might think that's very weird, and I'm weird in sometimes the movements and whatever have you. So that weirdness and whatever have you, but nonetheless, friends with benefits only from now and open for business 24/7. Open for business, open for business. My only stress now is financial, financial. So That's what it is, and that's what we got to move forward with today, and to move forward for tomorrow. I live carpe diem every day since I died of COVID, but I do have hope for tomorrow, especially when I see the youth, working out, training, and happy and joyous. The youth, salute the youth, So, but anyways, another 21st, 20th century conflict that's unresolved that might have a spillover is the China, Taiwan. Taiwan is known as the Republic of China. Mainland China is known as the People's Republic of China. So their unresolved conflict dates to the 20th century, to Mao Zedong establishing the People's Republic of China in 1949. Here, we work on it every day. We have black and white, and we're multi-ethnic, multiracial in North Americans, right? We're merging together as more free, the free to be here, the North strong and free, as we say, Canada, North strong and free, but North strong and free, but hopefully some loving, North strong and free, but hopefully some loving. North strong and free, but hopefully some loving, And not that selfish, not that selfish, not that selfish. I'm not totally altruistic. I don't pretend to be, but anyways, I don't pretend to be totally altruistic. It's for myself and for the other, for myself, for the other, for myself and for the other. It's give and receive, I guess, So, and got to have some merit, some merit, some merit, and we got to help, I guess, the needy and the vulnerable, and protect, and got to do. That's why my centrism is tied hand in hand with that. But here we resolved, and we're working on it every day, because yes, there are individuals who are racist, there are individuals who are racist, there are individuals who are racist, and if we gotta have some justice, probably to be a judge, I'll have to analyze a lot of the situation of the individuals, to have some justice. There has to be some justice, some justice. If I say I slapped myself, I say I'm sorry. If I offended, if I can say I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, and this is my condition, and can we hug, and can I help you something? Because people think that Aspies don't have compassion and compassion, but actually is that we show compassion by action. We would offer, if we have whatever, we have food. If you're hungry, we offer food. Or you're sore, I'm so sore. You might say, if you have an Aspie friend, you probably know this, that if you say I'm so sore, an Aspie we're gonna offer you a massage, or you want me to bring you some water for the feet, or stuff like that. Stuff like that. It's pretty. But then again, with obsessive interest, we pretty much are very strong in our obsessive interest and in some key areas, but in social, we lack social, and we might lack daily things, daily tasks and chores. We got to be reminded or told, and sometimes it's better to be direct with an Aspie, and I'm just gonna say, yeah, if I could do that, or just ask, and just just be more direct and ask, ask, and that's it. And probably myself, we're gonna do it. I can do it if it harms none. If it harms none, if it brings no harm to none, and that's one of the principles. Sometimes more simple principles. So the China, mainland China, known as the People's Republic of China, and the Taiwan, the island known as the Republic of China, is an unresolved conflict dating to the 20th century. It could happen any minute that the People's Republic of China invades Taiwan, the Republic of China. It could happen any minute. It could happen today. I don't know. I don't know. I hope not. But no matter how much an in-depth analysis, and doesn't matter what position I take, the main position is for the North American collective, because fundamentally, I never lived in China. I never lived in Taiwan. I hope and I wish for a peaceful resolution, peaceful resolution, just like we've had here on the French language. The French language, we make an effort on my brothers and sisters, 13.3% who are black, who are black. I'm open to dating both, because I'm androgynous pansexual, I play that rainbow, so friends with benefits on both, men and women. That's just myself, might be straight, and that's okay, that's okay, that's all good, and that's all good. And I love black, white, and rainbow, but nonetheless, we have unresolved conflicts. So, as much as could take a position, at the end of the day, I would say my brothers and sisters can analyze China, and if you want to discuss China geopolitically, you have to know a little bit of the governance of China. If you don't know the governance of China or any principles laid thereof in the governance of China, you're gonna have, if you want to discuss with me China, the People's Republic of China, and the unresolved China-Taiwan issue, you have to, well, if I ask you about the governance of China, which is 4 volumes, they're thick, but you can listen to them in audio format on YouTube, so you can listen to them in audio version on YouTube. So they're thick, but you can find them online on in the audio version and on YouTube if they're still available there. That's I read and I've did both. I listened to the audio and I read some of them in the past more than 4 years because they came in the past 12 years. So it's days to 2012 and then 2015, 2017, 2019. The latest was in 2019, I believe, and I was coming always, and maybe the fifth one is in the making. So they're based on Xi Jinping's thought and philosophies based on what they call socialism with Chinese characteristics, socialism with Chinese characteristics, socialism, and to generalize, to summarize, is because it's in depth. It's they're building what they call a spiritual socialist civilization, a spiritual socialist civilization. So, People's Republic of China, with Xi Jinping at the helm of the CCP, Communist Party of China, they're building what they call a socialist spiritual civilization. Now, how that's translated again in English, perhaps to my brothers and sisters in China, it's not the same meaning as the word spiritual for me. Spirituality for me, well, rock and roll, football, and that dancing, let's go party, 49ers. That's my spirituality. Eat me some of those burgers, build me some hydro dams. Hydro Quebec, go like Celine Dion, go 49ers, go Montreal, those Habs, yep. You know that I love it. Black and white and rainbow. For the show and for the road, for the truckers, here we go. For the muscle and the brain. And those twerking in those planes. So my spirituality being a bit the embracing of the physical, of dancing and North American football, CFL, NFL. So and eating some good burgers and those push-ups and those so my spirituality, the sun, my pope, might the word spiritual might have a different meaning. How I relate to nature and being a North American to my spirituality, which is pretty much rock and roll Crowley, pretty much rock and roll Crowley, pretty much rock and roll Crowley. And so many things I don't know, right? Rock and roll Crowley. Anyways, so that has to be also understood because as much as I know the governments of China and analyzed and read, their philosophy, their ideology, whatever Rainbow Dragon says here, being from North America, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. To the east, we got the Atlantic. To the west, we got the Pacific. No need to spy on me. Chinese Secret Service, Russian Secret Service, or whatever Secret Service, Stasi are gone after 1989 because pretty much open about who I am and who I become in the past 7 years, and then coming out of being depressed and suicidal and whatever have you, being that rainbow dragon and calling all to support my Trinity of theories and the initiatives which are fundamental for public-private partnership as an artist, philosopher, and a geopolitical analyst and theorist. Again, on China, no matter how much I say, there's always going to be that they're building their socialist spiritual civilization. So whether I take pro XYZ, it doesn't matter really at the end of the day. Right? It doesn't matter at the end of the day because Xi Jinping and the People's Liberation Army, PLA, they're gonna continue to build there's what they call spiritual socialist civilization or spiritual socialist civilization, which again the translation in English might not render the full value and not we might not understand the full meaning because I'm a North American. I have my own biases. For me, like I said, spirituality, rock and roll, rap, push-ups, dancing, 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 building more Hydro Quebec dams, and for the truckers, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, heroes of North America, and football and sports and fitness. That's my type of spirituality with the sun, the Pope, and the Geodds, goddess, kisses, kisses. So I do say the word goddess, Geodds in my spirituality, but nonetheless, that's a little bit of that where I gotta say with that. But nonetheless, maybe there's gonna be a peaceful resolution, but maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe there's gonna be an invasion by the PLA of the island of Taiwan. It is possible that will be an escalation, a geopolitical escalation. As there might be an escalation in the Middle East. Of course, there are still the unresolved Middle East, the Middle East conflicts. There are several internal conflicts, and Israel and the Middle East, Israel and the some parts of the known as the Arab world, known as the Arab world. So my Arab brothers and sisters, we gotta fight. We gotta move forward together as humanity and out for the free race. The human race as we are towards evolution. Myself, being whatever have you, but There's hope. There's hope. You know that change sometimes it's pain, struggle, suffering, myself included. You know, pain, suffering. And hopefully, we can re- recon- reconciliation, reconciliation. I mean, like we made in North America. My brothers and sisters who are black. You know, there's still work to do. There's still work to do. 13.3, 13.4% of the North American population, my black brothers and sisters here in North America. So maybe my ideas and my protocols are based on the North American model, but then it's a bit idealistic maybe. I gotta blend a little bit idealism with realism. My centrism is for North America fundamentally, right? North America extending NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, as much as I will to expand NATO, to see NATO have more than 44, more than 44, more than 44 countries. 33rd, let's make it that Mexico. Now we have a little bit of an issue, right? Because Turkey's president today, from what I know, I have to acknowledge and listen to more if there's continuing of if that was the information and the speech, analyzing the speech of Erdogan, whatever he said, for that could be an intervention in the state of Israel, could be an intervention in the state of Israel, in the state of Israel, right? So that's something to contend about. That's something to see, to worry about, also to worry about, because it's his discourse is a major point of escalation, major point of escalation, major point of escalation. Or to have the Turkish army, but I mean, there's several countries to cross: Lebanon, Syria, Lebanon, Syria, Lebanon, Syria. For the Turkish army, they're gonna go, so by the sea, by the sea, by the Mediterranean. So we're gonna see, but that's another major point of escalation: Russia, Ukraine. Here, geopolitics. We have elections. We have North American geopolitics. The possibility of Trump's second mandate, second presidency, second presidency. You know, and have to work together because we don't. I don't want any violence and aggression in North America, and I don't want no civil war in the U.S. in Canada. I was there in the past life, in the U.S. Civil War, so we want to avoid that, to channel the aggression, workout, train, exercise, Dragan Army initiative, philosophy, channel the aggression with push-ups and hugs. No need to spy on me. If I ever get married, it's probably gonna be an open cuckold marriage. If I ever get married, it's probably gonna be an open cuckold marriage. If I ever get married, I proposed to somebody, said no, but if I ever gonna be a marriage, I'm gonna be an open cuckold marriage, rainbow. General Cuck, CUCK, General Rainbow Dragon Cuck. Sexuality is something to be understood, and consent and hygiene, and if we repress certain things, it's gonna make us sick, Anil. Gonna make me sick, Anil. No need to spy on me, China, Russia, and Donald Trump. Anyways, to the cuckolds, man. To the cuckolds. LOV to the cuckolds. Somebody gotta love them. So I'm probably, if I get married, that's probably my. It's gonna be a CUCK, a rainbow CUCK. But I play hard, play defense, like I'm defending Purdy in that 49ers. Hut, hut, hut! Rainbow Dragon play that hut, hut, hut defense. Like the hardball ball, aka blackout ball. Blackout, like my raw retrograde amnesia memory. But, you know, we live, we survived, I survived, and I always give me hope when I hear acts of goodness and kindness. Please, charity, Wall Street. If you make a million buying, selling futures option puts today, stocks 10% of 1 million is 100,000 divided by 4. That's 25,000, 25,000. Thank you, LOV. Truckers on the road, LOV. Butchers, bakers, nurses, daycare workers changing some diapers. Construction workers, we LOV are construction workers. They build the buildings, and I'm a fan, and those cranes, those metal, that steel, building the houses and building the skyscrapers and the highways, and the public workers on the road now changing the aqueducts. I gotta send them some love, man, with the working out, utilizing that brain and muscle, getting that deep in the ground and I see across Montreal there's so much potholes and so much being done. So I gotta acknowledge that. You know, I gotta say some LOV, say some sense of LOV, some rock and roll to them as well. 24/7 for them rock and roll as well. You know, for the farmers, butchers, bakers, public workers. Raise my cup for the public workers. Gotta give them some good hugging, some good loving, and I'm always a fan. Construction workers, I'm a fan. Construction workers, farmers, butchers, bakers, carpenters, electricians, IT workers, you know, train conductors, LOV to our firefighters fighting in the wildfires across North America. Somebody give them some good massages. We gotta also do it. Takes the doing, takes the thinking. And after this video, I'm gonna go doing some dancing, some working out. Dancing is my favorite sport, and I encourage all to do so. Blah 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 blah. Take some sun. You know, I'm just financially stressed, but nonetheless, to finalize the geopolitical events and the geopolitical events of today, of course, the main one is the possible escalation of the intervention, a possible intervention of Turkey in the Israel-Palestine, Israel-Hamas conflict, Israel-Hamas conflict. And my brothers and sisters, there has to be a reconciliation. There has to be we have to reconcile. We have to reconcile somehow. We have to calling for the septennium, which is the 7 year of my initiatives, North American first and North American NATO, and so for world peace, perhaps, hopefully, to have attained some resolution of the conflicts. You know, like we did here in North America, we continue to do, myself included, with a great linguistic compromise for the French language. I'm going to switch to that French in a bit. And go Canada, go! Once again, great performance from Canadian women's soccer. That was a great victory over France, and we got some good gymnastics. I watched some gymnastics yesterday. Gonna watch some more. Let's go, black, black, black. Love it. And we got some good performances, and we got some good sports. I think we're 13 now, 13th, maybe 11th, 11th, 11th. Not sure. Gotta check the medal count, and I'm hoping that we're gonna finish top 10. Hey Canada, top 10. Let's go for that top 10 in the medals. That's gonna be good. And I'm gonna have some more to do. Now we're gonna switch to that French once again. Grateful, thankful that my rent's paid, electricity bills paid. If you want a commission, dancing, 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 priestess, Hana, 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 the goddess, HNH, yours truly, priestess. I did say priestess, non-sectarian, forgotten goddess. By those kisses and some push-ups and hugs, and Rainbow Dragon Commission geopolitical analysis and geopolitics. I'm an independent geopolitical analyst and theorist, and can exploit and, of course, discuss and analyze any situation and prognosticate or predict based on analysis in a general and more detailed manner where the direction of geopolitics is going. And I predicted the current geopolitical situation, and back in 2019, an international conflagration and a World War III, a possible World War III, an international conflagration. I got proof in 2019. I even created a workout training program system, and I got videos there with yours truly where I'm working out training, and I say day 3 of the World War III scenario, day 4, day 7 in 2019 in October. I started in October 2019, and then I got hit by COVID. I survived COVID. I thought I was gonna die. In 2020, February, March, in many ways I did die. I'm being reborn. In many ways I did die. I'm being reborn. In many ways I did die. I'm being reborn every day. So I gotta live for the life, for the lovers, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the grocery store clerks, those involved in the production, distribution of food, and gotta get some justice, some justice, some justice. Sometimes you gotta get that suffering and justice. Sometimes it's gotta get it for financial, and gotta get it for social, and it's important to heal, and to move forward. And we got a lot of work to do. I got a lot of work to do on myself, and I love volunteering. So that's it. That's all. Rock and roll. Go Canada, go. We're gonna switch to that French, because we la belle province. Bienvenue dans la grotte de votre dragon arc-en-ciel. Je vous encourage, Québécois, Québécoises, à faire de l'entraînement physique. L'entraînement physique a été selon ma médecine et thérapie de choix. Puis en vous encourageant aujourd'hui, je discute bien vite la géopolitique. Premièrement, la Go Canada, go. Quelle performance de l'équipe canadienne au soccer féminin, puis gymnase aussi. Donc, premièrement, je commence avec la gratitude. La gratitude, j'ai payé mon loyer pour le mois de juillet. Moi, ça finit bientôt. Le 1er août, ce jeudi, mon loyer, ma facture d'électricité, j'ai du café biscuit, du jambon. Je pense qu'il m'en reste un peu de jambon. Pas sûr, peut-être. Merci pour le don. La sécurité alimentaire commence avec les fermiers Go Hydro-Québec Go. Merci pour l'électricité du 20e siècle. Et je vous encourage à faire l'entraînement physique québécois et québécoise. Je m'en vais bientôt à la montagne, ma deuxième maison, s'il vous plaît, ne va pas le pire. Donnez-moi la permission, puis amenez-moi, s'il vous plaît, la peinture. Puis les pinceaux pour les bains. Il y en a comme 44, peut-être 45, peut-être 45, peut-être 45, moins 44. Dans l'entour, je pense qu'il y en a plus. Mais j'aimerais ça les peinturer, mettre de la peinture bleue, blanche ou rouge, ma couleur préférée, ou orange, quelque chose, même multicouleur, là, ça serait vraiment beau si j'ai peinture. J'aimerais faire ça comme bénévolat pour, bien sûr, l'embellissement, parce que ça fait longtemps, les bancs de la montagne du Mont-Royal n'ont pas été peinturés, là, puis on les voit que c'est quand même des années 70, peut-être 1977, puis j'aimerais ça mettre de la peinture. Je fais un petit appel ouvert, votre Aspie, j'ai l'Asperger's. Encore une fois, l'Asperger, c'est pas une maladie mentale, c'est une condition de neurodivergence psychique et mentale. Ça fait de moi-même que j'ai moi-même des intérêts obsessifs, puis un de ces intérêts, c'est la géopolitique. Je suis un analyste et théoricien en géopolitique qui a prévu, j'ai fait de la prédiction de la situation actuelle en géopolitique en 2019, en octobre. J'ai la preuve, parce que j'ai créé un système d'entraînement physique qui va main en main avec cet événement. Puis bien sûr, c'est mon intérêt obsessif depuis plus que 7 ans. Je me réveille, je fais mes adorations solaires, puis je fais l'analyse en géopolitique, puis l'analyse, puis la théorie. Je suis un analyste et théoricien en géopolitique indépendant, puis ça, c'est mon intérêt obsessif en tant qu'Asperger's. Puis je peux en discuter pendant des heures, faire des analyses profondes des événements du passé, puis bien sûr du 20e siècle, qui maintenant, des choses qui se sont passées dans le 20e siècle, ça nous touche au 21e siècle, en 2024, veux pas, puis je prends toujours comme situation, comme bien sûr résolution, en Amérique du Nord, les Québécois et Québécoises, dans le Canada, dans ce que j'appelle le collectif nord-américain, le complexe de civilisation nord-américain, parce qu'on est nord-américain, canadien, québécois, québécois, canadien, nord-américain, canadien, québécois, nord-américain, moi-même. Bien sûr, en tant qu'artiste, philosophe et instant géopolitique, j'ai cette théorie philosophique, j'y crois, j'y tiens à cœur, puis je dis souvent, je suis québécois, canadien, nord-américain, bien sûr, je suis pour la paix mondiale, je peux être universel, mais bien sûr, je suis fondamentalement québécois, canadien, nord-américain, puis mes protocoles, mes initiatives, c'est fondamentalement pour l'Amérique du Nord, le Québec, le Canada, puis l'Amérique du Nord. Puis en tant que philosophe, ma trinité de théorie, la théorie d'intégration de la dette, la théorie d'intégration citoyenne, la théorie de la refusion de la dette, puis la théorie de la fusion démocratique, que je fais appel à tous et toutes, de soutenir le rêve de votre dragon arc-en-ciel, là, qui est fondamentalement un appel pour un partenariat public-privé, pour un PPP, à travers le collectif de situation nord-américain. Amour à Céline qui a chanté pour les Olympiques. Amour à Céline. Plus bon peuple du Québec. Hey, jusqu'aux îles de la Madeleine de l'île de Montréal, Céline qui vient de chanter. Une chanson que j'ai composée. La rédemption criminelle, je l'ai faite. Maintenant, je fais du bénévolat avec les travailleurs publics pour changer les aqueducs. La rédemption criminelle, je l'ai faite. Maintenant, je fais du bénévolat pour changer les aqueducs. Pour qu'on y ait de l'eau potable. Wouh! Maintenant, ça, j'ai des chansons que j'ai composées. Puis, chanter avec Céline, je l'ai composée en 2020, je pense. Après que j'ai eu la COVID, février 2020, mars 2020, c'était comme la mort à la pestilence maladie. Puis je dis souvent, je suis mort en février 2020, puis je suis en train de renaître sur l'île de Montréal, bien sûr. Puis j'avais composé une chanson, je pense, en avril ou peut-être après ça, là, en 2020, juste après que j'ai eu la COVID, puis je m'imaginais chanter avec Céline Dion, puis c'était comme un duo, là, puis c'était comme « J'ai fait ma rédemption criminelle, maintenant je fais du travail bénévole, avec les travailleurs publics, changement des aqueducs, puis ça bouge les fesses, ma tante perd sa bébête, hey, puis ça bouge la langue, bécherelle. » Pas besoin pour en conjuguer le mot amour. C'est du rock roll aussi 24 sur 24 dans ma grotte en tant que l'analyse en géopolitique. Puis, vous savez, les Aspies, nous autres, c'est encore une fois l'Asperger, c'est pas une maladie mentale, c'est une condition de neurodivergence mentale psychique. J'ai des intérêts obsessifs. Puis ces intérêts obsessifs, c'est 24 sur 24. Même quand je fais l'entraînement physique, je médite sur la géopolitique, les événements géopolitiques de hier soir, du 20e siècle, puis jusqu'à aujourd'hui, pour faire une analyse. Puis bien sûr, en tant que Nord-Américain, en tant que philosophe québécois, canadien, Nord-Américain, mes initiatives, qui c'est fondamentalement pour un appel pour un partenaire public, c'est fondamentalement pour qu'est-ce que j'appelle le collectif de civilisation nord-américain, dont ici en Amérique du Nord, on a fait qu'est-ce que j'appelle le grand compromis linguistique, le grand compromis la langue française, du français. Qu'est-ce que j'appelle, plus philosophique, là, le grand compromis linguistique pour la continuité de l'harmonie en Amérique du Nord. J'ai composé comme 6 ans, je pense, 6 ans. Quand Legault, mon oncle, là, avec lequel des fois je suis 50, 50, 70, 90, ça dépend sur quel sujet, là, mais je fais appel à tous et toutes de faire un effort pour le français, tu sais, parce que on dit pas souvent, mais tu sais, Legault, M. Legault, mon oncle Legault, mais il est quand même bilingue, il est quand même bilingue. Il fait un effort, il parle anglais. C'est ça que je dis à mes frères et sœurs anglophones. Puis aux États-Unis, à nos cousins de l'autre bord des États-Unis, bien sûr, je leur dis toujours de faire un effort. S'il vous plaît, apprenez un peu le français, un peu chez nous, juste faites un effort. Je leur dis en anglais parce qu'ils parlent en anglais. Puis des fois, ils savent un mot ou deux, puis ils disent merci ou bonjour. C'est bien plus que ça, je leur encourage une phrase complète, puis je leur chante de quoi? Je leur chante du rock'n'roll en français québécois, là, quand même, puis ils sont en train de rire parce que je leur fais de la traduction après, mais c'est l'encouragement. Moi, pour le français, mais je fais de l'encouragement, puis bien sûr, mes chansons, puis tout ça, qui sont bilingues, français, puis j'aimerais ça avec Céline, la salue, puis s'il vous plaît, Céline, un peu de charité, s'il vous plaît, un peu de charité, s'il vous plaît, Céline. Un peu de charité. Moi, mon stress maintenant, c'est juste financier. Là. Juste financier en ce moment, j'ai juste le stress financier après ça, mais la gratitude, c'est bon pour la santé mentale. Tu sais. Je pense toujours aux fermiers, au travers de l'Hydro-Québec du passé du 20e siècle, grâce auquel j'ai la lumière, j'ai tout ça ici qu'on a, puis les travaux publics, hein, parce que des fois je fais des méditations, je m'en vais sur la montagne, tu sais, ma deuxième maison, Belvédère, Condionac en montagne sur le Mont-Royal, puis je fais de la méditation juste pour boire de l'eau. Tu sais, l'abreuvoir en haut, ça a tellement pris de travail du 20e siècle, puis avant ça, pour mettre les tuyaux, là, les tuyaux, puis ça puis connecte pour le filtrage de l'eau, pour que je boive de l'eau potable quand je m'entraîne. Juste ça, t'es tellement. Tu sais, la civilisation est un privilège, tu sais, c'est un privilège. La civilisation même, hein, c'est un privilège, la civilisation, tout ça, bien sûr. Fait que je fais je dois faire des méditations comme ça, puis bien sûr, je suis un partisan, ils travaillent en construction, tu sais, qui sont en train de bâtir, qui ont bâti les gratte-ciel, j'aimerais ça les connaître, puis leur donner, chanter un petit rock and roll, surtout qu'ils ont bâti celle-là avec la pyramide, là, la pyramide, puis je fais appel à tous et toutes, bien sûr, de m'aider à construire 3. La maison du dragon, le temple de la déesse, le temple de la déesse, le temple de la déesse, D-E-S-S-E, puis je crédite des millions de bisous, 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 puis des châteaux, bien sûr, le temple de la déesse, bien sûr, puis avec le palais du peuple arc-en-ciel. C'est 3 bâtiments que je veux bâtir moi-même, puis ça en parallèle, plus de centrales de l'Hydro-Québec dans les 7 prochaines années pour le septénium du dragon, que je fais appel à tous, qui est fondamentalement un appel pour un partenariat public-privé, un PPP, un partenariat public-privé, c'est ça que je fais appel, bien sûr. L'argent, ben, j'étais en stress financier, puis j'ai eu bien de l'emploi durant la COVID, puis avant ça, mais avec l'Asperger's, puis en étant Aspie, ces dernières années, comme ça fait comme 46 mois, là, 46 mois, c'est moi 3 ans et demi que j'ai accepté, mais j'ai l'Asperger's, fait que il n'y a pas de médicament pour l'Asperger's, je dois juste travailler sur mes symptômes, puis des fois, il faut qu'on me le dise directement, tu parles trop, ferme ton ta gueule, ferme ton ta gueule, ferme ton ta gueule, c'est correct, pas besoin de faire de la violence, là, puis je joue juste la défense, comme dans le football américain, hop, 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 comme les 49ers de San Francisco, je vais défendre Purdy, le carrière. Le carrière de la défense, parce que, bien sûr, c'est la défense, le collectif de l'Amérique du Nord. Puis, en tout cas, je dois saluer notre équipe encore de soccer féminin. Quelle performance contre la France. Go Canada, go. Puis, de Black, la gymnase, puis les gymnastiques qu'on a. Je suis excité pour voir ce que va faire en soir après mon entraînement physique. Je vais être de retour, puis je vais regarder encore la géopolitique, je vais faire une analyse, puis je vais faire une petite analyse maintenant de la géopolitique, parce que c'est ça, tu sais, nous les Aspies, on a une routine, fait que moi, depuis des années, je me réveille, puis je fais mes adorations stellaires, ma spiritualité un peu rock'n'roll, puis je fais bien du rock'n'roll, puis je fais des analyses des événements de la géopolitique, les événements qui se sont passés hier, cette semaine, aujourd'hui, ce matin, c'est l'événement que, bien sûr, la réélection, Maduro en Venezuela a été réélu. Fait qu'est-ce que ça veut dire? Ben, c'est juste pour faire une petite analyse que vu qu'il a été réélu, il n'y a pas d'autre changement parce que ça va être le même parti, ça va être quand même la même philosophie qui va rester au pouvoir. Fait qu'on va, c'est comme on va s'attendre à la même chose. S'il y aurait été un nouveau parti, qui aurait été au pouvoir, ça aurait été peut-être différent. Mais là, ça aurait été quand même le status quo, le status quo, le status quo. Peut-être un peu de changement. Je vais voir avec ses discours prochains, qu'est-ce qu'il va être, qu'est-ce qu'on va prendre ses positions politiques, les positions idéologiques, philosophiques, positions idéologiques, philosophiques, puis les protocoles, les initiatives qu'il va proposer qui sont peut-être nouvelles. Mais il faut que je mentionne bien sûr que Maduro au Venezuela, une de leurs philosophies, c'est qu'est-ce que ça s'appelle le socialisme pour le 21e siècle, basé sur les théories, les philosophies, puis bien sûr l'idéologie d'un philosophe, sociologue allemand, Heinz Dietrich. C'est intéressant quand même. Moi, je suis un centriste, je suis centriste, puis mon centrisme révolutionnaire universel, c'est vraiment pour le collectif nord-américain, pour l'Amérique du Nord. Ben, extension avec l'OTAN, je peux dire une extension avec l'OTAN, puis pour la paix mondiale aussi, je peux être citoyen du monde, mais fondamentalement, je suis québécois, canadien, nord-américain, mes expériences, ma vie, c'est ici, avec mes propres luttes en Asperger, c'est perdre l'emploi, avoir un emploi juste pendant 2-3 mois, puis après ça, 2 semaines, tout ça, parce que il y a beaucoup de malcompréhension, puis oui, je suis étrange, c'est juste, j'ai mes intérêts obsessifs, puis si je commence à parler de la géopolitique, des fois j'arrête pas, puis c'est pas tout le monde qui a l'intérêt de la géopolitique, puis parallèle avec la géopolitique, c'est le sport. La danse, c'est mon sport préféré, puis je vous encourage à faire l'entraînement physique, mais en faisant une petite analyse, bien sûr, c'est importante dans la géopolitique du monde, c'est la Turquie, qu'on appelle maintenant Turquie, Erdogan. Erdogan, c'est le président de la Turquie. D'après ce que j'entends aux nouvelles, c'est qu'il a fait un avertissement qu'il nie pas qu'il y aura peut-être une intervention militaire en Israël. L'État d'Israël était une intervention militaire. La Turquie, c'est un pays de l'OTAN. C'est un pays de l'OTAN. La Turquie, on a une alliance militaire avec la Turquie, l'OTAN. Israël, l'Ukraine ne sont pas dans l'OTAN. Moi, bien sûr, mes théories, c'est pour l'expansion de l'OTAN, pour avoir 44, peut-être 45, 44, peut-être 45, 44. Puis je suis pour que le Mexique, il rejoint le NORAD. NORAD, c'est nous autres. Canada et États-Unis, c'est l'alliance militaire. Mais l'OTAN, dans l'Organisation transatlantique du Nord, c'est une alliance militaire depuis 1949, après la Deuxième Guerre mondiale, dont on fait partie, Québécois et Québécoises, puis les Forces armées du Canada. Go les Forces armées du Canada. Go Canada, go. Bien sûr, on fait partie de cette alliance militaire. Fait que si un pays membre de cette alliance militaire est attaqué, que ce soit l'Allemagne, que ce soit la Bulgarie, la Roumanie, les autres pays, maintenant c'est la Suède, c'est le dernier membre, le 32e membre, parce qu'il y en avait 31 avant avec la Turquie, c'est la Suède. Bon, il va-tu avoir un 33e? Peut-être, peut-être pas, mais le problème qu'il y a eu, c'est que l'Ukraine, c'est pour ça que l'OTAN n'est pas intervenue directement. Ben, là, il y a des problèmes avec ça qui n'ont pas été résolus du 20e siècle, mais c'est pour ça qu'il n'y a pas eu d'intervention militaire par l'OTAN dans l'Ukraine. Il n'y a pas eu d'intervention militaire de l'OTAN dans l'Ukraine. Il n'y en a pas eu. Parce que l'article 5 n'a pas pu être invoqué. L'invocation de l'article 5 n'a pas pu être invoquée. Car l'Ukraine ne fait pas partie aujourd'hui, puis ne faisait pas partie de l'OTAN, l'organisation militaire, l'alliance militaire qu'on a avec les autres pays, Canada, États-Unis, puis 30 autres pays de l'Europe. La Turquie aussi. La Turquie font partie de l'OTAN. Bon, puis c'est pour ça qu'il n'y a pas eu d'intervention directe en Ukraine. Puis c'est ça un des points de contention avec Vladimir Poutine, parce qu'il a dit que l'OTAN ne devrait pas faire expansion dans les pays qui étaient membres de l'Union socialiste soviétique. Fait qu'encore une fois, la géopolitique d'aujourd'hui est bien marquée par le 20e siècle. Moi, je pense toujours ici au Québec, au Canada, on a fait ce que j'appelle le grand compromis linguistique du français pour avoir la continuité, pour continuer l'harmonie. Ben, c'est sûr que des fois, on se donne des coups, puis ah oui, apprends plus le français un peu, faites un effort, s'il vous plaît. On se comprend, faites un effort. C'est pas un encouragement. Moi, ben, je ne vais pas discuter des lois, puis tout ça, mais c'est pour l'encouragement. Moi, en tant qu'artiste, ben, écoutez un peu plus les chansons de Céline Dion. Si vous ne parlez pas l'anglais, vous êtes mes cousins et cousines de l'île de la Madeleine, puis de Saint-Adrien, Saint-Damien. Saint-Adrien, il y en a deux. Fait que lequel, je vais vous laisser... vous laissez deviner vous-même, vous laissez faire une devinette vous-même, mais que ce soit un des deux, sont proches. Saint-Adrien, il y en a deux. Saint-Adrien, il y en a deux. En tout cas, que ce soit dans les 17 régions quelque part, vous ne parlez pas bien anglais, mais écoutez les chansons de Céline en anglais, faites la traduction, peut-être vous allez apprendre un peu. Vous allez connaître les chansons en anglais, fait que vous allez pouvoir chanter des chansons de Céline en anglais. Moi, je ne les connais pas toutes. Là. Je composais mes propres chansons en anglais, puis en anglais que je vous chantais avec Céline, peut-être ceux-là, je vais les connaître plus, puis comme ça, on va faire l'effort pour le français, pour l'anglais, pour le bilinguisme, puis on continue à le faire, mais anyways. Puis avec nos frères et sœurs noirs, hein, les Noirs, 3,3%, 3,4% de la population de l'Amérique du Nord, mais sont noirs, tu sais, fait qu'on a fait ce compromis avec nos frères et sœurs noirs en Amérique du Nord. Puis moi, j'adopte un point de philosophique, idéologique, pro-nord-américain, pro le collectif de l'Amérique du Nord, mais pro le collectif de l'Amérique du Nord en tant qu'individu dans le collectif, avec mes propres philosophies, mon Asperger's, mes souffrances, mes cicatrices, je me gratte trop peut-être, ou qu'il faut pas, faut que je fasse attention, je les discute, j'ai discuté mes choses directement, j'ai pas de choses, bien sûr, juste un stress financier en ce moment, comme j'ai discuté, bien sûr, que j'étais en dépression, tu sais, j'étais suicidaire, puis j'ai traversé le Canada de côte à côte, j'ai traversé le Canada de côte à côte, j'ai traversé de côte à côte, j'ai traversé de côte à côte le Canada, là, en 2017, en août, puis en juillet, j'ai traversé le Canada de côte à côte, en août, puis en juillet, j'ai traversé le Canada de côte à côte, en août, puis en juillet. Puis cet événement, ça m'a fait sortir de la dépression. J'ai arrêté ma dépression, puis être suicidaire, je l'ai arrêté. Ça a fini là, en août, puis en septembre. En août, le 6 août, je suis parti pour l'Occident, dans l'Ouest, en Colombie-Britannique, à Vancouver. Puis après ça, je suis allé à l'Est, à Halifax, en 2017, en août et en septembre. Cet événement-là, ça m'a fait sortir de la dépression. Puis j'ai écrit comme un document, ça s'appelle un petit peu un long titre, ça s'appelle l'initiative. Après cet événement dans ma vie, j'ai composé ce document qui s'appelle un peu un long titre, là, mais le titre, c'est quelque chose comme l'initiative pour le tourisme citoyen intégré de l'Amérique du Nord, pour le bien-être des citoyens de l'Amérique du Nord. L'initiative de partenariat public-privé intégré en Amérique du Nord pour le... C'est un long titre, là. Il faut que je retrouve sur les clés USB, c'est comme 156 pages, là, 156 pages à peu près, 156 pages avec des peu de détails. Il faut que je trouve tous ces documents, je les ai un peu partout, là, mais c'est surtout dans ma tête aussi parce que le travail que j'ai fait pendant 7 plus ans en tant que philosophe, artiste, puis analyste théoricien en géopolitique, c'est bien sûr quelque chose que je suis en train de parler d'une manière de communication orale, là, oralement, là, je suis en train de faire de communication orale, là, puis c'est un document, dans le fond, juste pour faire un résumé, là, c'est pour un partenariat public-privé, pour financer les gens de l'Amérique du Nord, les citoyens nord-américains, pour traverser le Canada puis aller à une autre place, financer le tourisme pour le bien-être. Dans le fond, c'est financé par un partenariat public-privé, le tourisme. Parce que moi, ça m'a fait tellement du bien. En 2017, le 6 août, fait que je vais marquer 7 ans. Dans une semaine, je vais marquer, ça va être 7. Le chiffre après 6, ça va être 7 avant 8, c'est 7. 7 ans. En 2017, en août, puis en septembre, j'ai traversé le Canada côte à côte. Fait ça m'a fait, wow, tellement de choses à voir et à faire. Puis après ça, j'ai eu mes luttes là, à cause de l'emploi. J'en ai eu bien des emplois, bien des amis que j'ai perdus depuis ce temps-là, 2017. Puis je me suis fait des nouveaux amis maintenant, vous savez, mais des amis avec bénéfice seulement, des amis avec bénéfice seulement, des amis avec bénéfice seulement, des amis avec bénéfice seulement. Juste me le demander. Consentement et hygiène, comment ça, hygiène, je peux servir, je peux faire de l'analyse en géopolitique, c'est ça mon intérêt obsessif, la danse c'est mon sport préféré. Puis j'appelle tous et toutes à soutenir mon rêve, le rêve de votre dragon arc-en-ciel qui se manifeste pour un partenariat public-privé. Parce que fondamentalement, je fais appel pour un partenariat public-privé. Qu'est-ce que j'appelle le royaume de la déesse et du dragon qui danse pour le renouveau de l'infrastructure. Merci ceux qui changent les aqueducs. En ce moment, il faut que je médite sur les camionneurs, les pompiers. Amour à nos pompiers. Amour à nos pompiers, les ambulanciers, les infirmières, ceux qui changent des couches dans les garderies, les camionneurs, les électriciens, ceux qui sont sur la route en train de faire de la cuisine. Maintenant, il faut que je le pense à eux autres aussi. Dans les fermes, qui font bien sûr le travail sur les fermes, puis qui font les travail dans la construction aussi, tu sais, sur les grues. J'étais un partisan des grues qui ont travaillé bien sûr pour faire les gratte-ciels, pour avoir bien sûr tout ce qu'on a en tant que collectif d'association, l'infrastructure bien sûr, tous les aqueducs, tout ce qu'on a en tant que collectif, ceux qui sont sur les trains, les chauffeurs d'autobus, bien sûr, dans l'autobus, ceux qui font le ramassage des poubelles, la sanitation publique, ceux qui vont ramasser les poubelles aujourd'hui chez nous, qui ont ramassé le recyclage aujourd'hui chez nous, qui vont ramasser cette semaine plus tard le compostage, ces 3 services publics. C'est toujours un partenariat public-privé. Mais anyways, fait que juste pour discuter un peu de la géopolitique, un événement majeur qui vient d'avoir lieu, c'est le discours d'Erdogan, le président de la Turquie, qui a mis sa table une possibilité que l'armée turque de la Turquie, un membre de l'OTAN, on a une alliance militaire, fasse une intervention contre l'armée d'Israël, l'armée de l'État d'Israël. Imaginez-vous comment on va être dans un paradoxe. Là. Vous imaginez-vous quel paradoxe ça va être, ça? Un problème, un problème pour l'OTAN, les chefs de l'OTAN, les chefs de l'OTAN. Ça, je fais appel, bien sûr, pour avoir une résolution, il faut avoir une résolution, une réconciliation des combattants réconciliés, comme c'était marqué dans la Bible avec Jacob et Esaü, Jacob et Esaü, ça. Rocky Alain Bisou. Faites l'agressivité et l'agression, mais la violence, il faut faire la sublimation, là, comme la sexualité. Je m'entraîne, je fais l'exercice physique. Si je mettrais pour défendre quelqu'un, ben ça serait le Québec, les Québécois et Québécois jusqu'aux îles de la Madeleine, puis d'un bout à l'autre, le Canada, de côte à côte. C'est pour la défense, défense de côte à côte. C'est juste utiliser cette stratégie. C'est possible qu'il y ait une troisième guerre mondiale, j'ai prédit une conflagration internationale. C'est possible. C'est possible qu'il y ait même une guerre nucléaire, des armes nucléaires qui sont produites durant la guerre froide. Là. La guerre froide, ça a duré quasiment 45 ans. Quasiment 45 ans. La guerre froide, ça a quasiment duré 45, plus que 44. Là. Ça a bien bâti des armes nucléaires, là, c'est possible. Moi, c'est pour, bien sûr, vous savez, mes initiatives pour la défense du collectif nord-américain, pour le bâtir puis ouvrir des montagnes, comme à Cheyenne. Cheyenne, c'est où il y a le siège social du NORAD. Là. NORAD, c'est l'Alliance militaire Canada-États-Unis, donc on fait une alliance. Et bien sûr, pour financer les gens, l'entraînement physique, c'est super important. Mais en tant que qu'est-ce qui vient de se passer aujourd'hui dans la géopolitique, c'est un événement majeur. Imaginez-vous ce scénario. Un scénario d'une invasion d'un membre de l'OTAN, qui est l'Israël. On a des alliances, on a des ententes avec Israël. Benjamin Netanyahu, il vient bien sûr d'être au Congrès des États-Unis il y a 5 jours. J'ai commencé à écouter en 11 minutes, là, mais parce que je me suis préoccupé avec envoyer et répondre à des courriels. Fait que je dois encore écouter comme il faut, bien comme il faut le discours, pour voir le discours, là, faire une analyse, mais encore une fois, j'avais fait dans le passé, tu sais, l'intégration des protocoles de la Genèse 34, là, pour le partenariat public-privé, et bien sûr pour la résolution de conflits, mais frères et sœurs, mais il faut, c'est peut-être un modèle nord-américain, comme qu'on a fait en Amérique du Nord, non sectaire, le principe de non sectaire, le grand compromis de la langue, du français, tu sais. Continue à le faire avec mes voisins sont noirs, t'sais. Des fois, mais il faut travailler sur le racisme en dedans de nous-mêmes, en tant qu'individu, c'est possible. Moi aussi, j'ai des choses que je dois y travailler. Je travaille, avoir l'amnésie rétrograde, mais puis avec les cicatrices, puis peut-être j'ai des flashs de trompe, de violence, comme non, mais c'est des choses qu'il faut que je guéris, puis je joue la défense, je joue seulement la défense. Puis c'est important de l'agression, les impulsions de l'agression puis de la violence, comme la sexualité, c'est important de faire la sublimation de la sexualité par l'artiste, la comédie. Parce que si on réprime, ça nous rend malade, si on réprime, comme moi en tant qu'androgène pansexuel, en tant que pansexuel androgène, ça c'est juste une petite chose de moi-même, en tant qu'artiste, athlète, philosophe et analyste en géopolitique Aspie, qui a survécu la COVID, qui a été en dépression suicidaire, puis qui encourage les gens à faire l'entraînement physique, puis au financement, au tourisme, pour qu'ils voient tout ce qu'on a au Canada. Puis, comme je dis à mon frère, ministre de la Défense, mon frère citoyen Bill Blair, pour avant de mettre un uniforme, il faudrait puis donner bien sûr un arme, il faudrait qu'il aille changer des couches dans une garderie à travers le Canada, puis, ou lire un livre, enfin, pour voir pourquoi on met la défense nationale. Ben, c'est pour les jeunes, les enfants en premier, puis après ça, ceux qui ont fait leur part dans le 20e siècle pour qu'on aille qu'est-ce qu'on a aujourd'hui, dans les CHSLD, ça prend de la vieille école avec la nouvelle. Puis moi, c'est un centriste, une balance, une harmonie. Avec le changement pour moi-même, ça a pris des années, puis ça n'a pas été facile avec l'Asperger's. Aujourd'hui, c'est juste un stress financier. Comme je dis, l'événement que je vais faire la méditation en m'en allant à la montagne, ma deuxième maison, ça va être bien sûr ce nouveau discours d'Erdogan, le président de la Turquie, c'était un événement géopolitique majeur. Parallèlement, ben, avec Maduro qui a été réélu, là, ça c'est le status quo, mais là, ce nouveau discours d'Erdogan, le président de la Turquie, ça a changé un peu le status quo. T'sais, dire que mettre sur la table une invasion possible d'Israël, l'État d'Israël, par l'armée turque, un membre de l'OTAN, c'est 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 problématique. C'est extrême un peu. C'est un méchant scénario pour l'OTAN, pour Jens Stoltenberg. Qu'est-ce qu'on fait? Quelle position on va prendre en tant que l'OTAN? Quelle résolution? Y a-t-il une résolution? Une résolution, il faut en avoir une. Là. Une réconciliation. Hein? Réconciliation. Peut-être le modèle de l'Amérique du Nord. J'ai des questions, j'ai des réponses, j'ai des méditations. Amour, faites de l'entraînement physique.